Jai Gurudev, everyone, welcome back. So again, blessing of Mahalakshmi to all of you. It was a wonderful day actually today. So we did yagna for Mahalakshmi and Mahabhishekam, which is really sweet, bathing the Divine Mother. And this is really a nice grace and blessing. So, Jai Gopal, ask your question, please.
Guruji, is it true that when two people get married, a karmic bond is created between them? And if our aim is to get free from all karmic bonds, why would someone want to get married?
Look, whatever we do in life, karma is being created. You know, there's nothing that we do that karma is not being created. Here I'm talking about people into the outside world. You know, so why do two people meet and they feel something for each another? It doesn't matter, you know, that from where, whether you're getting married or not. You know? But you see, when people come into your life, is because you have something with them to finish. And due to that, you meet someone. Whether you get married or not, this is up to you. This is your personal choice. But that karma that bring two person together, it bring a certain things to finish from past. Because as you know very well, when you're moving forward in life. So, of course, when you get married, you should know to whom you're getting married. And this person will contribute in helping you to be free from this life or not. And as it said in the Bhagavad, you know, it said that if you get married, if you get a husband or a wife, they have to, even getting children to some extent, they have to act in a way to remind oneself to be free from the cycle of birth and death. Then you have that right to get married. So if you look at it from that point of view, of course, it's quite a tough one. Yeah? But knows one thing, that whatever happened in your life, it is what you have done from past. And that's what you are going through. It is to finish with this. It's not about creating more attachment and more things. That's why God come into your life. If you're on the spiritual path, God come as a reminder, but you have to attach yourself to Him. So whether you're in a relationship, whether you're single, whether you're in a partnership, whatever ship you are in, you know, the only ship that you have to be in is that ship that will lead you to freedom. You know, all kind of ship, if you attach yourself to that, it will drag you into misery. Here I'm talking about attachment. That doesn't mean you can't have a partner, you can't be married. No, you can get married. You have to be clear that this marriage is to go together on the spiritual path to attain the freedom, to attain the lotus feet of the Lord. Because freedom, very often people talk about freedom like, okay, it is, okay, let's go into the world and be, we are free. Let's do a little bit of sadhana, we'll be free. You know, let's go on the spiritual path, we'll be free. No, because we have to see that from the beginning of creation we have a certain duty. You know, in Bhagavad Gita, chapter 3, verse 10, it said that at the beginning of creation, Brahma create mankind and prescribe a certain duty, sacrifice, you know, to human, and said by performing of this sacrifice, that will fulfill all your wishes. Here, when you see that, you see itself, you know, at the beginning itself, we are bound by a certain dharma. And if in life itself wherever life have brought you is to fulfill of that dharma itself. Whoever you have put into your life is to fulfill that dharma itself, because everything comes as a reminder of why you are here. And when we see, and that verse of Bhagavad Gita, when Brahma created, and he said that yes, there's a prescribed duty into this world. And when we look at nature itself, from the beginning itself of creation, there is a prescribed duty in everything. The duty of fire is the heat. The duty of the sun, for example, it creates a balance into the world. The sun duty is to create a balance upon the earth itself through light and heat. It sustains the earth. And likewise, when the earth is sustained, it gives plants nourishment and everything to whatever grow upon that. Without the sun, the earth will not be how it is. So we depend upon each other. But when we look and observe the creation itself, we observe nature itself. Nature have given everything for free. That Mother Nature, she gives everything freely. There's only one kind which is becoming so very much attached and dependent upon and become crazy about is mankind. Human, when they forget about their duty, of course then they make a big mess about it. So that is the kind when you are reminded throughout life itself that your duty is to be here, to perform why you have come. Indra have his duty, Lord Shiva have his duty, Lord Vishnu have his duty, Brahma have his duty. So everyone have their duty, and they do perform the duty with wholeheartedly. That's what this is called, yagna. When you do something. Today we are doing yagna for Mahalakshmi. It's not just to chant the name of Mahalakshmi and put swaha, swaha, swaha into the fire. No, our life itself is a life of dedication to the lotus feet of the Lord. A life where we remind ourselves that continuously we are in service to Him. When we remind ourselves continuously of that life has been given to us as a service to the lotus feet of the Lord, then whatever we do in life become also that yagna, which is offered in the deep sacrifice as service to Bhagwan himself. So being single, in a relationship, being married, it doesn't matter where you are, as long as you remind yourself that this life which has been given to you, it has been given to you to attain a higher goal, which is to attain the lotus feet of Sriman Narayana. And whatever he has given you outside, you are also part of this creation. You are also integrity of this world itself. And your duty is also to serve humanity. What can you give to the world? And like he said in Bhagavad Gita itself, he said that the second part of it, he said, by performing of your duty, by accepting your dharma, and really adapt to it, Of course, nowadays it's different. It's sometimes very hard to let's say, if you're in a relationship, understanding must be there, And of course, sometimes you will beat each other, you will kill each other, you will say things to each other, but perseverance must be there also. I know very well that you don't want to hear that, and but you have to know that wherever you have been put, there's something that you have to learn. And if you have not learned from that, it will keep repeating itself. It's not by changing the person. Very often people say, I'm not happy with that person, let me get another one. It's easy. You just divorce and get another person and get married again and again. What are you looking for? This is the point. Are you looking to be free from this cycle? Are you being free from this drama, megalodrama, which you have created throughout life itself? Or you want to attach yourself and create more karma, more things? So like that you see many kind of people, when they don't learn in one time, they do it one time, they do one time, 2 times, 3 times, but you see the same schema everywhere. Because it's not about the other person. You know, you're saying, okay, yeah, I want to get married, I want to be happy with that person. It's not about that person, it's about you. You forget about that. You try to find happiness in that person, and that person you say, okay, he's my, he or she, whatever, is my dependent upon to be happy, then you will be the most miserable person. Because you are getting attached to that, making dependent upon, but that person is the most important thing for me. No, it is not like that. You are the most important thing for yourself. Firstly, if you don't realize that you are the most important thing for yourself, then you can be in 100 marriage in this life itself, you will never be happy. In place of finishing the karma, you will create more karma. Then you will get attached to that whole system. But that is a change of mind itself. When you realize that, everybody look for their own self, because it all starts with you. If you are not happy, you will never be able to make anybody happy. So you are looking for happiness in somebody else when you are not happy. Do you think that relationship will be happy? They will never be happy, because that same person is also doing the same thing with you. This is how it's said that in a marriage you are bound, but you can't be free from that, because there is this drama which each one wants to dominate each another. So each one wants to control each another emotionally, financially, and whatever, then you're stuck to it. In that context, yes, you're creating a very long time of unhappy moment for yourself. And that long time means many lives also of unhappy moments, which you will create. When would you finish this karma with that soul itself? When one life it has been reminded to you. You don't know in the next life whether you will be reminded also. No, let's count also only this life itself. When we analyze that, okay, we talk about life being difficult, but who make life difficult if it is not yourself? You see, like it said, iron, nothing can destroy iron, but its own self, which is the rust from itself, can destroy iron. So like that, each person, they themselves make themselves miserable by depending upon somebody else for their own happiness. They don't count upon their own inner strength. So when you start to count upon your own inner strength which God have given you, then you will be approaching your true dharma. Then you will have a really deep understanding that my life here is like I am part of that nature. I am here to give something to this world. And I'm here to give something freely, selflessly to this world. My contribution to this world is a selflessness, to be here. Like nature have given all these things selflessly to us. The tree is giving its shade, equally of who the person is underneath. Like that, a mother is giving unconditionally its love to all her children. And like that also, you are called also to become like that. To live a life of unconditional love. Not a love which is dependent, not a love which is I can't live without that person. No, you can live without that person. Before you know that person, you were living still. How can after you say, but I can't live with that person? No, this is a dependent. This is an attachment. And that attachment and dependent will ruin you, will make you unhappy, and will make you miserable. Just as it is said in Bhagavad, Canto 7, chapter 13, verse 32, where it's said that the rich, the greediness of richness create attachment. And due to that attachment to their richness, to the riches, to the wealth, one loses the peace of mind and spends endless night guarding what they have. So you can see in that verse itself, that wealth that you think that you have created outside, thinking that this is everything, out of fear, you will spend sleepless night wondering, where is my partner? What is he doing? What is she doing? Is he cheating on me? Is he doing so many things? The drama. I don't need to go into that. You're expert in it. And chapter has the verse, chapter 13. Canto 7 of verse 33, it's carry on as saying that, look, those which is attached to, here it said, to money, they have fear for everything. Every aspect of their life is based on fear completely. They fear about government, thief, about enemy, they fear about their friend, they fear about everybody else. Actually, they are fearing about themselves, to face their own reality. And this you see clearly in life itself. When you see people talking about their fear, they fear about this, they fear about that, they have depression about this, they have depression about that. Actually, they fear the reality of their life itself. They have made their life miserable. And then they expect that they go to temple, they go to church, they go to everywhere. Oh God, please solve my problem. You have created this problem. And you don't want to see that. And then you go to temple on your knees and express yourself to God and say, God, please save me from that. Of course God will hear your prayer. But one thing is that you have to move out from your depression. You have to move out from that megalodrama. You have to understand, why are you here? Why this life has been given to you. Where you come from. Who are you truly? When you awake into that realization, you will see that life is the most beautiful gift that God has given you. The most precious of all. Nothing on this world is as precious as your life. And when that realization awake, then you will know that change of mindset. There was once an old lady. She had a daughter, and that daughter was sick. And she was always praying, oh God, why is it like that? But my daughter is so young, but she's so unhealthy. She's sick, Why? Look at her, she's young, and me, I'm old. Why you don't take me? Please take me, This is my prayer to you. I am an old lady, what can I do here? Let she still have life. Please take me in her place. Let me be sick in her place. So one fine day, there was a cow. So this was her constant prayer to God, Please make my daughter well and let me be sick and let me die in her place. So there was a cow there was a cow which came, the door was open of her house, and the cow went inside, and there was a pot, and that pot was blackened. So the cow was thinking there is food inside that pot. So the cow went in and put her head inside and start eating. So then the lady heard some noise, because the pot got stuck, the head of the cow got stuck in the pot. And of course, when the cow realized that, the cow started panicking and started trying to shake that pot out and to remove that pot from her head. So hearing this big noise, the old lady came out to see what was happening, and she saw the cow, because the cow was in panic, and she saw the cow running towards her, and she got so scared, thinking that the angels of death have come to get her in the form of the cow itself. And she started running, screaming for her life, and she said, "You have got the wrong person. My daughter, the sick person, is there. I'm an old poor lady. Why are you running towards me? Let me finish my life peacefully." Running like that, you see, is the mind of people. Everybody said, yes, we care for each another, we will do this for another. But when death comes, when one see that one, whatever we do and is not happy, each one really care only for oneself. Whether you are the daughter, whether you are the husband, wife, children, whatever. It's about you firstly. When you can save yourself, remember that. If you can save yourself, you will be able to save other people also. But if you can't save yourself, why are you ruining the life of other people and also ruining your own life itself by making yourself miserable and unhappy? So your question is whether your marriage is good or not. It's all how you live your life. If you live your life in accordance to spirituality and find something common that both of you can share. I'm not talking only to share your private life together, that you can share for 10 minutes and after that is finished, drama again, carry on the same way. No, share something which is deeper in together. When you can share this, you can help each another to move forward in life. Then, of course, your marriage will be the most blessed and most wonderful. Because you are moving forward, you are finishing also the karmic things which have been created together. So, change that mindset thinking that somebody else is the cause of your happiness. No. Nobody is the cause of your happiness. You are the cause of your own happiness. Yesterday I got a small video which somebody sent me of a lady. She was telling when she was young, when she had young kids, her children was young, she was always running behind them, screaming to them, stop making noise, keep your house clean, and so on. And now when she's sitting at home, she's miserable. She look at all the empty rooms, look at the doors, and have all the memories of what she went through, and she regret that she didn't enjoy the time where her children were with her. Now she longed to enjoy that time. Now they are not there. So like that also, you see, don't wait for the time of regret to come. Then you look at life and say, I regret, I have not done this or I have not done that. No, life is an experience. You are here to experience life in its fullness. And of course, in this experience of life, there will be ups and there will be downs. But have a clear goal firstly. And when I'm talking about the experience of life, I'm not talking that you have to do everything, but knows what is good for you to do. Then do it. Even despite the whole world go against you, saying, no, you are wrong completely. No, do it, because this is what is inside of you awakening. This is your dharma. People will never understand that. Your own dear friends and family will not understand when you start going upon your dharmic life itself. Because when people are far away from their dharma, they don't view life in where they have to let themselves. Only when you are near to that, then you can have a glimpse of, yes, hell to the world, and move forward. So like that is life itself. Whether you are single, marriage, or in partnership, wherever you are, know that all this experience, that what will build you and make you approach to your goal itself. But have at the back of the mind the clarity, and your aim must be clear. And that aim, if you're on the spiritual path, is the feet of Srimad Narayana. Nothing else. Have this and experience life.
Dear Guruji, many times you have recommended that we meditate on the lilas of the Lord. How do we do this properly? Do we imagine ourselves in the stories, or do we try to find parallels in our lives? How do we do that without creating fantasies?
Very good question. You see, when we are sitting in dhyan, for example, we are absorbed in deep meditation. Very often people say to meditate upon the self. Well, you see, to meditate upon the self, you don't know where to meditate, which on your lungs, on your liver, on your heart. No, you don't know that. Because the mind is so busy, the mind is running so much outside. So when you sit in dhyan, firstly, you sit in calming your mind firstly. Like Bhagavan have given this, in the Gita, he have given the meditation itself. A few days ago I was talking about that, where your mind wander itself, bring it back. So like that, which means your mind, of course, will jump. So in your meditation, you meditate upon, so the best way is to take a certain lila of Bhagavan and view it like a TV inside of your mind. So you can, of course, because you are not great yogis, but maybe you are great yogis or not, but use the mind as a tool. Create, in place of create fantasy or imagination of things, see the lila of Bhagavan himself. So by doing that, you will see also a certain similarity in your life. Because you're also dear to him. Like I said continuously, but this life has been given to you as being a devotee is a reminder of his relationship to you. So being in a relationship with him, that means that his lila is also very dear to you. So you start firstly to imagine. This is a normal state of a human being. When you're in the world outside, of course your mind is so busy outside. So start to imagine, visualize this lila inside, but live it according to what you have read about. Don't create any fantasies, putting yourself into that, into that lila itself. Because this you see very, very much into the world. When people read about something, they start to fantasize themselves, and then they create their own story, and then they lose ground itself, and they go completely cuckoo. So this you should not adventure into that. So you should not imagine that you are somebody special, because you see in the esoteric world, not in the spiritual world, very often, especially, sorry Mataji, but they try to picture themselves. They forget that, you see, let's say Mirabai, Mary Magdalena, all these great women, who have done so great things into this world, they are model to inspire you also to become strong. In their time, they were also put down, but no, they stood up. So Don't portray yourself as the strength from them. Take the strength that they have as example. Draupadi as example, but don't see yourself as being Mirabai. Don't see yourself as being Mary Magdalena or Draupadi or so on, and identify yourself to that. If you start doing that, then you will be completely into delusion. This is where the fantasy start to arise. When you start to identify your personality, you forget about your personality. You start to think that this is who you are. Or the gopis also. So they are them. You are you. It doesn't matter. Maybe you were them. So it doesn't matter. This is not your concern about it. That what concern you right now is about sitting in dhyan and really be absorbed into that divine lila of Bhagwan. Of course, when you go into that mind, you are feeding your mind with something which is beyond the mind understanding of it. And of course, that mind at that moment, it is transforming itself into divine itself. So that's why meditating upon the lila of the Lord bring that transformation from a mundane mind to a divine mind. So when the mind itself starts to become divine, then of course then you start to view there is why Bhagwan have called me on that spiritual path. There is something what he sees inside of me which I have not seen before, but due to what he sees, he have graced me to become a devotee, to sit in meditation, to observe myself into a different reality itself. So then you will start perceiving also certain lila in your life itself. So without going into fantasy of things, because once you go into fantasy, then you can't move forward. You lose ground, you finish, you stop the process of advancing towards God realization. So.
Jai Gurudev, how can I explain what is love to my child? My child asked what is love, and it's not easy to define love with words she understands. Can you help?
Look, and I think a child understands love more than you can explain in words. And the attention you're giving to your child, when you're playing with your child, the laughter you're having with your child, and these are all love itself. So explaining with word, even you don't even understand what is love. Do you think put some word with that to a child, the child will understand? No, mentally the child will not understand. But emotionally, feeling-wise, whatever you do, the child explain that child that all these are love itself. Because the whole concept of love have not yet developed into the child. Of course, they have a certain feeling. They have that feeling, oh, this is my mother have a different kind of love towards me. You are my father have a different love towards me. That my brother and my sister, they have different kind of love. That my friend have a different kind of love. So these are all expression of love itself. And if you want to express this to your child, explain to your child that whatever you do, this is love. And that is, even the mistake that the child will do, that is also love. So it is out of love, because children portray a different understanding of love. And when you grow, of course, that gets limited. But for them, at that age, if there's young, for them everything is love, because they are not into they are not into worry, they are not into fear. So this expression that they understand is everything is love, because they go through life fearlessly. They will do something without any fear. They would not think, you know. So the whole thing is about thinking. When you start to think, that gets limited. So they don't think, you know. So that's why they are freely, they can express themselves freely. Yeah. So you have to say to your child that everything around is love. Whatever they do, you know, it is an act of love itself. So, yes.
We say that Draupadi is an example of sharanagati, that type of ultimate surrender from which there is no return. But later on in her story, she dies on the mountain because of her attachment to Arjuna. So why do we use her then as an example of sharanagati?
I don't know whether we use her as an example of sharanagati, but we have to see in the life of Draupadi, in any situation she was in, Krishna was always there. If there is not this complete surrender, Krishna will not be there. You know? So in the court, when she was derobed, you know, from her clothes, she was holding upon her clothes, but when she let go of it, Krishna came into the scene. When she was in the forest, you know, when sage, what's his name now? The angry one. Durvasa came with his disciple. There was nothing to eat. You know, in the house, when Durvasa said to Yudhishthira, I want that you feed all my people, there was nothing to eat. Even if they would have come earlier because of the Akshapatra, you know, which the wish-fulfilling bowl which Lord Suryadev gave, you know, to Yudhishthira to have food, if they had already had their lunch, so this Akshapatra can give food only once a day. So whatever they wish, that will be in that food. But there was nothing. It was all washed and clean. So that moment, Krishna came. You know? So if they were not surrender, why would Krishna come to save them? You know? So you see, it's not because they were very princely and very related cousins, you know, because you're my cousins, I come and see you, I will come to save you, whatever. No, it's not about that. Because they were, in their mind, surrender. And in Draupadi, her friendship to Krishna was exquisite, you know. She was, you know, her friend, her relationship to Krishna. You know, when Krishna killed Shishupal, you know, his finger got hurt. Without thinking, she teared her sari and tied it, you know. And then he took her as his sister at that moment. You know, a brother have to protect always his sister. So you see, Bhagavan will not act in that way randomly like that. You know. He acts in that way only when there is a complete surrender. So that's why, you see, in her mind, in any situation, whatever they will do, even if, like you said in your answer, in your question itself, she died on a mountain because of her attachment to Arjuna. No? Of course, being in the Pandava, she loved everybody, but her favorite was Arjuna, because Arjuna was the one who won her, you know. In this Swayambar, you know, when she was getting married, it was Arjuna. Then her heart was given to Arjuna, you know. So due to that, of course, who else will be? When you have given your heart to somebody, there can't be somebody else in your mind. No? So, of course, her longing to be with her husband, the Arjuna, you know, was there. And but due to their relationship, you know, the mind can be attached to Arjuna, but her heart was attached to Krishna, to her friend. You know. And due to that, Bhagwan was always there. So she is the model of, I say, surrender also. So, Jai Gurudev.